So what starts the downswing? Is it your hips? Is it your torso, shoulders, hands, arms, weight shift? Today we're going to discuss the sequence of the downswing, because it can either cause you to hit that slice, it can cause you to hit that draw, cause you to hit that fade, or it can just cause you to hit it absolutely everywhere. All right, so one of the most important factors in golf, besides impact, is what is the sequence of the downswing, because that will help you put the club in the correct position on the way down a lot of the times. So if you're brand new to our channel, make sure you subscribe. We've got a lot of people who watch our videos who aren't subscribers, so make sure you subscribe. You'll see our future videos if you hit that bell button, and if you have comments, you can put those down below. So I'm going to start with what is the most common idea that I hear with people when it comes to what should start the downswing. And the first thing I always hear from people is, I got to get my hips open. I got to get my hips open. That is the key. That's what everybody tells me all the time. All right. That's not necessarily wrong, but for the general golfer out there, they have a really hard time separating their upper and their lower body, which basically means they have a hard time turning their shoulders without their hips moving with them. And if that is their first thought, is I need to turn my hips, right? Very simply, you will see what the shoulders want to do, right? The shoulders move closer to the ball. When the shoulders move closer to the ball, the club swings outside and we swing across it, okay? So if you're somebody who isn't really able to move their upper and their lower body, the idea of turning your hips is probably not for you, okay? We see certain golfers like Dustin Johnson, those types of golfers on TV. Yeah, they're really open, all right, but the sequence of when they get open is much different than what most of us consider. So when it comes to your hips, as far as the sequence goes, when you get to the top, when your hands start coming down, all right, usually we're going to see either the legs back to being square or just slightly open somewhere in this point right here. So a lot of us, these hands stay really high and our body connects a lot and we swing across it, all right? And so that's why we really struggle with slicing the ball. The majority of golfers slice the ball just because of that alone, okay? And they have a lot of open glove face, but that's a different video. So the first thing you need to do is figure out if you can get your hands back to somewhere in this zone, and then you can turn as hard as you want to. But if you're turning hard from up here because you heard your hips need to be open at impact, it's going to be a big old struggle for you, and you're going to really struggle with anything but slicing the golf ball. The next common thing that I hear a lot is, I need to bump my hips, okay? So I'll see people come up here and their first move is, they think that is bumping their hips. It is, but that is a huge move in golf when it comes to your hips, right? When you do this, all it usually causes is the club to release behind you, and then you make this really sloppy impact, okay? It will help you actually pause your hips a little bit because your hips are too busy sliding rather than turning. So you might be somebody who actually is really shallow, hitting these big old hooks, right? That could be you. If you want to know how much we're going to bump our hips in the golf swing, just remember, golf is a lot of small moves, right? So if we get it to the top, that is about it, all right? We want our hips to basically square up with our ankle, lead hip, lead shoulder at impact. So it is basically that move. It is super small, okay? Now that is actually a really good thing for most players to concentrate on, is just moving laterally. Because if you're moving laterally, you're not turning, okay? And we know that most of us are stuck with our body as far as turning goes. So if you get to the top and your first move is just a little lateral, all right, you'll see how my hands, they're not going this way. They're starting to drop a little bit, which will help you shallow it out, all right? Because your hips are basically slowing down because they're going this way. So it gives your hands an extra second to drop. It'll take that right shoulder, okay? It'll move it down a little bit, and then you'll be much better positioned to shallow the club into impact. So if you struggle with slicing it, make sure you're not somebody who makes impact looking like this, but is a little bit more stacked up on impact. Number three, and probably what I feel the most when it comes to what kind of starts my downswing, is actually what my arms do. Okay, I tend to have a little bit faster hips also, so the idea of pushing the weight to the front foot or having that little bump, that helps me so I don't get a little bit quick with my hips. The next thing that I like to see with my arms is I'm gonna, as they fold to the top, all right, I want the right arm to unfold a little bit, not my wrist, just my right arm to unfold a little bit, and my elbow to feel like it gets closer to my side. So when I add both of those together, I get the shallowing move that I want. So if you look at it from face on, we get to the top, arms do the right move. I'm getting my weight to my front foot, so eventually I can try to push off the ground to just create a little bit more speed and really stack up, and that will actually get my hips open, right? It's really hard just to kind of do that with your hips. Usually if you push off your front foot, it helps the hips open up as well, which you'll see a lot of kids tend to have their hips more open because they use a lot of verticals in their swing, and that helps them turn and get their hips open. All right, so one more time, we get to the top, right arm unfolds, the wrists don't unfold, right elbow gets closer to my body, right, and then I can turn and get into the golf ball. Okay, so that's a really good way to start the downswing. You kind of add those two together, especially if you're somebody who slices it. You have to be careful that that right elbow doesn't stay high, or the right elbow doesn't arm wrestle the club down. Right, any one of those is going to cause you to slice the ball. But if you get the sequence correct, we know when we should turn our hips. We know that moving laterally slows down our hips a little bit. And if you move your arms correctly, you will shallow that club. You'll become a lot better golfer. You'll be able to hit the ball actually a lot farther because you're releasing it at the right moment, creating speed rather than cutting across it or anything else. If you stuck with us till this point, some things you should understand or get an idea of is that we don't need our hips to open crazy fast, all right? We need our chest to feel like it stays closed longer, and all those things to really make you hit the golf ball a lot better on your downswing. So the last thing is kind of a torso idea. I don't get this a lot because everybody tries to turn their hips really fast, is as the swing comes down and you move left, your torso will actually feel like it's closed. All right, it won't stay closed very long, but it will just at that point, and then it'll start to square up when you get closer to impact, and then it'll be slightly open at impact. So sometimes we try to rip our torso really quick because we think that creates speed. I mean, I understand the idea of turning hips fast, everything like that to create speed, but golf is all about your sequence, your timing of your golf swing. So we want you to make sure your timing of your golf swing is good. You can still be a little over the top, but if your timing is really good, you'll just hit little cuts. If you're a little bit more closed with your torso, you might be a little bit more shallow with it, and you might hit a little bit more bigger draws. But you can always fix those very simply as long as you have a teacher that understands what you're trying to do, okay? So that's it. That's what we should do with our downswing. Hope this helps today. If you want to do a lesson online or something like that, I do offer that. You're welcome to check it out or email me or put a comment down below if you have any questions.